Hello, everybody. It is the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. It is the Thursday or the third month, the 8th day of the 2022nd year, AD. And it is International Women's Day. So we want to start off this episode with a very happy International Women's Day. Many women have accomplished so many things that are public and private. So thank you, God, for all the wonderful women out there on International Women's Day. Want to start off by taking us. A lot has happened since this afternoon. I want to start off here just in Kyiv. If you were with us at the end of the afternoon episode, and I'm going to try to do episodes at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that those of you that want to watch know when it's going to be on. At the end of this episode this afternoon, I said that the Russians were trying to come in to Kyiv here through Imprin because of the main roads, but it is a very substantial residential area. About 30% of the area controlled by Russia, about 30% kind of a no man's land, and then the 40% behind that no man's land is controlled by Ukraine. And I said that the word was that they would try to come in either through here, less densely populated area, or up through here. They are coming through here currently. Air raid sirens sounded at 9:38, and the first shellings began. It's currently 11:03. And VDV, which are Russian paratroopers, are coming in through this area, trying to breach and start an incursion into Kyiv. And also Sumy, a city that was over here, also VDV are coming in from this area right here. So Kyiv is basically under a two-prong attack as we speak, from here and from here. And again, bombing raids, air raid sirens going off earlier. I want to bring us down to Odessa briefly. It was thought that Odessa would be attacked last night by both sea and air. Russia has had trouble with Mykolaiv right here, and they have pretty much taken most of Kherson. There is an airport outside of Kherson. We showed a video the other day of 8 missiles striking along that area, and I've got an overhead shot of what actually happened coming up a little bit later. The idea was they would come up through Crimea and basically this way and this way, which is what has happened. And it's just taken a lot longer than they thought, but they are accomplishing their goals slowly but surely. Now, there were naval ships, Russian Navy outside of Odessa here. All of those ships have pulled back to this area right here. So they actually right there. So they have withdrawn. All of the military ships, okay, those that were there for an amphibious landing, they've all withdrawn back to here. The currently in this area around Odessa, outside of Odessa, is there are basically spy ships and intelligence gathering ships are still out there monitoring, primarily monitoring the Romanian coast and this part of Ukraine. So this arc roughly where the cursor's going. And did I show you any of that? Did I show you any of that? I probably didn't. Okay, here we are, Odessa, and then I'll backtrack. So this arc right here, there are scattered Russian naval vessels, but they're spy vessels. They're intelligence gathering vessels for basically the coastline of Romania and Ukraine. So the attack on Odessa that was supposed to happen did not happen, and look for Russia to try to completely isolate this city right here, and then start a second a second incursion towards Odessa. But as for now, all of the warships and all the amphibious landing craft are back here. So since I forgot to click on the, again, this is new software, and I've got to do it differently than I did on what I used before. So I apologize for that, and I will try not to let it happen again. I don't want to go to Moscow. I don't want to go to Belarus. I want to come here to Kyiv. And again, I'm going to show you they were trying to come in through Ypres right here, and as you can see from the white, it's a fairly large urban area, but it had a highway. Now they are coming in through this area, here, and then this area here. So there's a two-prong attack underway on Kyiv as we speak, from the ground, from VDV, Russian paratroopers, basically coming at both sides. And we heard air raid sirens again at 9:38. So we talked again this afternoon. At the end of this afternoon's about a 40-mile circle around Kyiv at any point, which would be close to 50 kilometers. Ample artillery Russia has in place. They've been digging in. People were wondering about this big convoy. They've dug in, okay, and they have kind of a almost a complete circle. If they can close off the east here and a small section down here to the south, they will have encircled Kyiv. And again, trying to make incursions here and here as we begin tonight's episode. Again, thank you all for watching. It's the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. We're going to go over to our flight tracker briefly, and we'll see what we have in the air. Anything of interest? Not sure what this is. Bombardier Global 6000 with no departure, no destination. But it appears heading out towards the North Sea. So again, Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, the western part of I'm sorry, the eastern part of Poland. No flights. No flights. Now we zoom out a little bit, and incredibly heavy traffic all around the area, specifically this pattern here. Lots of planes coming into Moscow, few that are leaving Moscow are not Russian planes. Very few Russian planes are leaving Russian airspace because Russian airlines are defaulting on their loans, and their planes are going to get repossessed if they land in certain international airports. So this is a little something I wanted to share with you. I'm not going to share the whole thing. You can find it on, I think this is NBC or MSNBC.
I think Putin is angry and frustrated right now. He's likely to double down and try to grind down the Ukrainian military with no regard for civilian casualties. But the challenge that he faces, and this is the biggest question that's hung over our analysis of his planning for months now, as Director Haynes said, is he has no sustainable political endgame in the face of what is going to continue to be fierce resistance from Ukrainians.
So that was CIA Director William Burns at the Worldwide Threats hearing this morning. Before that,
okay. Again, you can check out the entire interview. Let me see who it is to give him credit. I think it's NBC, but no, it's MSNBC. So you can check out Putin acting out of desperation, according to the ex-Russian foreign minister, a little bit later on in that interview. But the key point to that, and why I wanted to share it, is because there really is there's no end game, and that's a dangerous situation. So we hop over and check and see what stories are. 16 minutes ago, Pentagon will deploy 2 Patriot missile defense batteries to Poland. U.S. military says in statement tonight, not only the missiles, but radar designed to spot incoming fire. Anthony Barr tonight on Fox, not Anthony Barr, what's his name? William Barr, former Trump attorney general. He showed a detachment from reality that was stunning to me. Now, I saved that to lead off the saved stories for tonight, because my first response is, wow, you're actually saying that and saying it on Fox News. But the second thing that hit me was much heavier and much more powerful, is like, why didn't you say something then? Why didn't you say something then? You're saying it now because you've got a book you're selling. Well, I got a book I'm selling too. It's a novel. It's fiction. Supposedly yours isn't. Why didn't you say something then? The troubling news out of Ukraine on the nuclear front. Chernobyl nuclear power plant is no longer transmitting data to the United Nations watchdog agency. The agency says, voicing concern for staff working under Russian guard at the Ukrainian facility. Also, Zipsania, the other nuclear facility that was attacked and shelled by Russia last week now, they have also Also, bad news coming from there. Their employees have been taken hostage, and there's no information as far as nuclear levels and things like that coming from that plant either. So, are they mining nuclear material from these plants to be used in devices? And if so, what would those devices be? We're just going to run down this real quick. Now, before I run it down, I want you to keep in mind that Russia has numerous ways to deploy different warheads. And it's not necessarily going to be nuclear, especially in the beginning. There are also most of the missiles or most of the mechanisms we're going to be talking about here in the next 2 minutes, because we're going to go through this real quick. They can dispense either nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons. All right. The only time a nuclear weapon has ever been used, it was a gravity bomb, and basically that is a bomb that's dropped from an airplane. So gravity is the way that it travels, and they generally get to a certain elevation above the intended target and then detonate over the target, not in the target, so that destruction is maximized. You're probably not going to see gravity bombs used unless you see it used with possibly a chemical agent, but I doubt very seriously most of those will be sprayed. Ballistic missiles. Now these are high altitude, long range kind of weapons. There are medium range and generally we would never consider these, but now we got to think about the unthinkable and the possibility of ballistic missiles. I'm much more prone to saying we need to watch out for cruise missiles and other delivery systems, as opposed to I'm sorry, I was reading an update, as opposed to ballistic missiles. If you've heard the term going ballistic, well, if things go ballistic, then we need to talk about where we're going to meet up and how we're going to survive. So I'm much more prone to what's called a tactical strike, a small nuclear warhead, a smaller warhead at a specific tactical target, very limited. God, I hate even talking about this stuff. It's 2022, we should be so far past this. But a cruise missile is a jet engine or a rocket-propelled missile, flies at a lower altitude using an automated guidance system. And cruise missiles can be launched from mobile launchers on the ground, from naval ships, submarines. And I mentioned let me backtrack for just a second because submarines triggered something. I mentioned that there were just intelligence gathering ships left in the Black Sea off of the coast of Ukraine and Romania. More than likely, there are Russian submarines still there too, even though their warships have gone back to port. The advantage of a cruise missile, the launch of a cruise missile, is difficult to detect early from satellites and other long-range means. So you've got much more of a surprise factor. So they can be maneuvered in flight. So penetration of strategic anti-missile systems aimed at intercepting ballistic missiles on calculated trajectory or flight. So we've got some anti-missile systems that are pretty good against some ballistic missiles. There hasn't been confirmed evidence yet, but it is suspected that these systems have knocked down some Russian ballistic missiles already. Again, that hasn't been confirmed. Or at least if it has been confirmed, I'm unaware of it, which it could very possibly be. The other delivery systems, artillery shells, mines, such as the medium atomic demolition munition. There's something called the Blue Peacock. There are nuclear depth charges, nuclear torpedoes, atomic bazooka. The United States developed Nike Hercules. Canada fielded a low-yield nuclear-armed air-to-air rocket, the Air 2 Genie. The Davy Crockett is an artillery shell, and it's the smallest known nuclear weapon developed by the United States. And you get an idea in this picture. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because while I still think he will cross the nuclear line, it's becoming possible that nuclear line is not the first line to be crossed. And again, with both of the nuclear power plants, in Russian control, with 2 of the 4 in Ukraine under Russian control, and with no communication coming out of there, it's cause for concern at best, and actually deeply troubling. Why I say that nuclear may not be the first line, just so you can see that this is from Republican Senator Marco Rubio. I blast Republicans a lot on here because they need blasted, and when Democrats need blasted, I blast them too. Speaking of which, Joe Biden shut off the Russian oil imports, about 90,000 barrels a day. Not a huge amount. It's not going to really impact the Russian economy greatly. It's much more symbolic gesture as far as impacting Russia's economy. But he's trying to replace that that oil by making deals with Venezuela and trying to buy from Iran and Saudi Arabia. And some devil you know is better than the devil you don't. If it was that big a deal, to the economy here, maybe we shouldn't have done it. But I don't think that's the case. I don't question. I know why. It's fear. Okay. There's upcoming elections. And if gas prices get too high, no Democrat can ever win because Democrats are for renewable energy. That's it, plain and simple. Okay. The reason we haven't been more aggressive is not because Biden is a coward. Remember, the only time an atomic bomb has ever been dropped, both of them were dropped by a Democrat. So don't misjudge somebody's political party for what they might do. Now, would I feel better about, anyway, that's a tangent I'm not going to get off on. The idea that a possible biological false flag again, this is something that I think we should strongly pay attention to, so that if it does happen, we are aware why it happened, because at the moment it's all set up to blame the United States and Ukraine. Rubio says this is Senator Rubio, with all due respect, says this is how Russia sets up false flags. If there's a biological weapon incident in Ukraine, be 100% certain it's the Russians who did it. A Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman says, we confirm that during the special military operation in Ukraine, the Kyiv regime was found to have been concealing traces of a military biological program implemented with funding from the United States Department of Defense. Okay? There's some truth in that. There's some truth in that there are two labs that are on the border of, or near the border of Ukraine and Belarus. And both of those labs were funded by the Department of Defense. And both of those labs were a joint Ukraine. Actually, Australia was involved. Ukraine, United States, Australia. They were working on how to protect and how to destroy various possible biological weapons that the Russians were, through intelligence, were known to be developing and in possession of. I know this for a fact because I was told by a person that worked at both of those labs. So the person also told me, I never thought I would see this. Black is white and white is black. Russia is saying exactly what they are planning to do, and saying totally the opposite of what we put our lives into at work at both of those buildings. So Marco Rubio and I agree. Be prepared in case you hear this happens, to know that there is going to be a major outcry from the Trump Putinons, the Trumps, the Putins, the QAnons, the Trump Putinons. It's a new word, new term, hashtag it. Just give me credit. americandufus at gmail.com. Gotta have a little levity, because this stuff just, otherwise my shoulders get up into my ears constantly, and people have to all the time tell me, hey, turn it off for a bit and try to relax. But it's history. We're documenting history. We're watching a vast change in the world, and a change in the wrong direction, a change in a terribly wrong direction. So this part, the United States Department of Defense being involved, that was true. I noticed that everything is said, it's in past tense. During the special military operation was found. So I don't know if this was meant to come out after something was accomplished and it didn't get accomplished, so they went ahead and released it, so that if there is indeed a biological incident of some sort, not only does that throw doubt into alliances, but it also gives gives Putin a reason to tell the Russian people that we have to escalate, because this is on our border and it's on the border of Belarus and our ally Belarus. And so very, very dangerous. You put all of it together. You put together that this Russian foreign ministry person put this out, and the fact that there were indeed two labs basically working to neutralize what potentially Russia is planning to release. I don't know what to make of this picture. I've seen a lot of, I actually saw a train caravan with vehicles similar to this heading to the front. This is being deliberated, and again, allegedly, Russia's army's out of trucks, transport soldiers in garbage and in trucks. They don't have Z's on them, so I'm not sure they are Russian. And I'm not sure. There were some said, well, okay, maybe these are Russian prisoners being transported. That may be a possibility, but it looks like an awful lot of them, if that was the case. So I'm not sure what to make of this. I showed only because it could be a sign that Russia's running out of equipment in the area. Because I did see video of a supply train, not the one I shared here, but one with vehicles similar to that, including what looked like a 1996 minivan on it. So I don't know. We're going to keep an eye and see how it goes. Earlier today, on a briefing I was listening to, they were talking about Putin and the upper echelons are prepared for up to 40% loss of troops they have here, and they have a massive amount of their active troops there. Yeah, they got a bunch of people there. They got people on reserve, but this is just anybody that has studied war at all. The way this is going is just bizarre. Now, this is something I wanted to make sure we drew attention to. You'll probably hear about it on the mainstream media coming up in a day or two, but and maybe it's already out there because mainstream starting to do the same thing I've been doing for a couple of years. The secretary of the ruling United Russian Party has proposed nationalizing foreign-owned factories and businesses, heading back towards communism. The nation owns all the businesses, and some of those businesses include Ford, BMW, and Continental Tires. So we do know that Russia today, Putin announced today that they were cutting off all exports of raw materials and all imports of raw materials. Biden announced earlier that there would be no Russian oil, coal, or natural gas coming in. He did not mention uranium that we import from Russia to use in our nuclear reactors. So we'll keep an eye and see what happens here if Russia indeed starts nationalizing and starts heading back towards a more communistic system. Because the same person that told me about the labs talked about how the Russian people really feel and how the Russian people really are, a lot of them. And this is not going to end well in any way, shape, or form. And for those that think this is just Putin, and whether it's propaganda that has caused it or not, well over half of Russia is in favor of this, regardless of what it's called. About 30% are not sure, and there's only about 20 to 25% from an independent poll. only about 25% that really oppose it. Now, we see them all the time. Of course, it's the same thing here. The people that oppose things and oppose them strongly, we see them. They get the camera time. We become aware of them. But you always have to ask, how many are there? You know, there have been thousands and thousands of people arrested for protesting in Russia. And I'm sure that's going to quell a lot of people's desire to be against this. You know, you're only going to get the most passionate out there actually protesting now and from now on. And the longer this goes, the worse it's going to get. And the longer this goes, the less likely it will end. Okay. Next brief story: China unsettled by Ukraine, but don't underestimate Xi's Taiwan resolve. That's from the CIA, the director, and that's also in the interview we showed a brief part of earlier. We talked a little bit about, actually, it was the 10 commandments of propaganda in war. Propaganda 101. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The election was stolen. As an example, accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. Ukraine and the United States have a biological agent that they've accidentally released from their labs, and it's contaminating Ukraine and Belarus. Propaganda that works best when those are being manipulated or are confident that they are acting on their own free will. So propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. Think about that. Think about the media you watch. Think about the things that are fed to you. And are you really acting on your own free will? Number 4, it is vitally important for the state, the government, to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus the greatest enemy of the state, because the state's based on a lie. What state was based on a lie? Joseph Goebbels, the Reich Minister for Public Enlightenment, otherwise known as propaganda, in Nazi Germany. You could probably go down through here and cite examples of how these have been used recently, and possibly by someone all sides of the political spectrum. Just something to think about. This I share. Taiwan studies Ukraine war for its own battle strategy with China. I share this because we've talked for the past several weeks that this could possibly become, and the ultimate goal always has been, to get the United States into a two-pronged situation and bleed us dry. This is dangerous. Taiwan is studying Ukraine war for its own battle strategy with China. Sounds like Taiwan is getting ready to go to battle with China. We just showed a couple of frames ago that China has made it clear that what's happening in Ukraine and Russia has no impact on Taiwan. Taiwan will never be independent, and no one should try to make it so. So I show this because it appears Taiwan is indeed watching in case a battle comes their way, or when a battle comes their way. And also because, as I've said a number of times, a world war is not fought in just one country. All right. Our focus at the moment is Ukraine, with the Russian reinvasion of Ukraine, having tried to occupy various parts at various times over the past, and now making another major incursion. That's where our focus is. But a world war evolves out of major conflicts in major places. Okay. And United States didn't enter the Second World War until we were attacked. That will probably be the case this time around if it comes into world war. We will not get involved unless we are attacked. And even if we get one plane shot down, that probably won't be enough, even though there will be a credible outcry for it. If we lose one military ship, that may not be enough, although there will be an outcry for it. If the Vice President of the United States happens to get shot down, that may not be enough. It may have to be a direct attack, an attack on our assets. May not be enough. An assassination of the vice president, I sure as hell would hope so, but that's me. Okay, that's my feeling. What I would want. What I'm giving you is analysis, because that may not be enough. Even though the outcry would be, it still may not be enough. It may have to be an attack on the mainland before the United States gets involved. Now, we've said, something happens in Taiwan, we're going to get involved. Will we? That's just a question. That's for you to think about and decide for yourself, because it might be decided that it's not, okay, wait a second here. Because before I go there, this I want to warn everybody. I was hesitant to play this because this is just like but we can't turn away from what's happening over there. Okay, we can't turn away from. If you're squeamish, if you this video is not for the faint of heart. This is shot from a security camera. Car basically rolls up, sees the tank. The tank is shot at that building. The tank sees the car, shoots one round at the car, second round at the car with a direct hit. That's what the Russian army is doing. For those of you that are Russian apologists, and you think it's, you think you're doing it just to be contrarian. Who and what you support says much more about you than it does about about who you are supporting, because we have a pretty good idea generally who those people are. And for those of you that didn't have an idea who Donald Trump was, after he said grab him by the and force him, anyway, I want to bring this up. I showed the video, I think it was 3 episodes ago, of the guy was driving by and the 8 missiles were falling upon the airport. You'll notice the runways are pretty much intact. all the different places you can access the runways. The missiles, while those, some of those are saying, God, you know, they didn't even hit the runways. They didn't want to hit the runways. Okay. No apparent impact on, they didn't want to hit the runways. They want to be able to use the runways. They hit these buildings and destroyed Ukrainian aircraft. But so those of you that saw the video the other night with the missiles, well, that's where they impacted. We saw them coming down. And of course, we have to have our nightly John Deere tractor pulling yet another piece of, this time it's a T-80 tank. And you can go back and watch all these, watch all these episodes. I invite you to. These are all different tractors in different locations pulling different pieces of equipment out, but it's become, I don't know, it's become the light moment, the consistent light moment. I can't do the sound because I might get copyright violation. This is troubling, and we had a long discussion about this, about whether there's something called the Code of Military Justice, and basically you have to follow an order given by a superior. If that order is illegal, you don't have to follow that order. Okay. Now, there was debate that it is spelled out in Belarus. It is spelled out in Ukraine. There is question whether there is any such condition in Russia, as far as Russian military or as far as Russian general law. But this soldier, I don't.
На учения. В итоге нас завезли на
Okay, it doesn't have the
страну
American,
Украину.
it doesn't have the English
Нас
translation.
завезли, и нам сказали, что мы пытались отступать нельзя, либо своих застрелят. Ну, мы пытались говорить.
But obviously, it's not just one of them saying this.
Это Ставропольский край?
So they were sent to the front lines. A lot of them were sent to the front lines. They were told it was an exercise. And I'm not making excuses for you. I'm just laying out possibly why this is going so bad for Russia. Troops have to be demoralized after all of this. You know, they were, first of all, they were left in exercise mode for, well, at least 9 days, if not longer. And they went through their rations because they thought it was an exercise and they're going to be going home. And they found out, some of them found out the day of. Those that didn't find out the day of found out the day before, when their junior officers were notified and told them that they were going actually into Ukraine. And then some of them said, no, we're not going to do that. And they were told, if you don't, you'll be shot. So you take your chance getting shot in the back running away, or in the front running towards. And if that is how, indeed, and I imagine it is how the Russian military works, we might hear more and more and more and more and more about how thankful Russian soldiers are to be prisoners of war. Now, with that being said, I've also heard reports that Ukraine has conscripted some of these soldiers to help start to rebuild Ukraine. So using them as kind of forced labor. I don't know if that's the case. I said I've heard it. It is unconfirmed, but it's something that we're going to be looking into. Because again, wrong is wrong and right is right. And no matter who's wrong, we try to let you, if who we think's wrong, try to let you know about it. And what we think's right, we try to share with you as well. But it's always your decisions. Okay, this is Zamfrazizia. I mentioned it earlier. This is the actual story. The energy minister said that the employees of the nuclear power plant have been taken hostage and are being tortured. In addition, Russian propaganda plans to use the personnel of the nuclear power plant for its own purposes. So I haven't heard much about this anywhere else, but and that's the director of the plant. The U.S. is sending 2 Patriot surface-to-air missiles. We mentioned this earlier. Missile batteries to Poland amid Russian tensions, and they're also sending radar for detecting incoming potential targets for the Patriot missiles. Heard a lot of talk about the MiG fighters, and I haven't even mentioned it yet because of all the other stuff that's been happening. First of all, I want us to look at this picture here, picture 1. This is a Ukrainian MiG-29 Mu-1. This is what they're flying over Ukraine right now. This is the Polish MiG-29A UB cockpit. It's a totally different configuration. Someone flying this gets in this, and not everything is going to be where it was before, and not everything is going to be as muscle memory as it is in what you are used to flying in. So they're not all that dissimilar, but at the same time, you're not just going to be able to fly. The average pilot's not going to be able to just jump from one to the other. Okay. Now, we reported this afternoon that Poland was going to be giving all of their planes to Ukraine, and in exchange, the United States was going to give Poland used equivalent planes. And Poland got a little uncomfortable with that and thought, if we give our planes directly to Ukraine, Russia could look at that as an act of war and attack us. And Poland, like me, thinks that, well, if Poland gets attacked, is the United States really going to jump in? We don't know. I don't know, and Poland doesn't know. We're supposed to. So Poland says, what we're going to do is we are going to give the planes no cost. We're going to give the planes to the United States to do with what they want to do. Okay. So what Poland is saying is, well, this could be looked at as a direct action against Russia. So if anybody's going to make it, it should be the United States making it. All right. Now, so this became FUBAR, effed up beyond all recognition, FUBAR for those that don't know. This became FUBAR, and now it's going to be a political public relations nightmare, because it's going to be Biden lost his nerve and wouldn't give him the planes, and the U.S. wasn't going to give him the planes to begin with because of the technology the U.S. has, and there's not an equivalent plane that can be swapped. You're going to hear all kinds of things. What should have happened, if this was going to happen, should have happened behind closed doors. Everybody should have shut up about it, just did it, and all of a sudden the planes show up. And then after the fact, when history is written, we find out who did what, where, and when. But that's not how it worked out. That's just my opinion, is how it should have worked out. But it didn't work out that way. And here's the statement by the Pentagon press secretary, if you haven't seen it already. Basically, the important part down here at the bottom: we will continue to consult with Poland and our other NATO allies about this issue and the difficult logistical challenges it presents, but we do not believe Poland's proposal is a tenable one. And otherwise, no. Because now it could have been tenable even though it was public, but from what I was told, the whole thing hinged on those planes had to be flown out of Ramstadt Air Force Base in Germany. Okay, they couldn't be in Ukrainian bases. They could be used they had to be used by Ukrainian pilots. Wink, wink, nod, nod, and flown over Ukrainian airspace, but they had to be housed and serviced at Ramstadt Air Force Base. That's what I was told. Now, we'll find out all that again as all this untangles, and that may not even ever come up. But that makes a total difference in the way geopolitically this plays out. Because if they fly out of Germany, at a U.S. base, and they're Polish craft, or even if they are signed over to American and they're American craft, if we're going to do that, cut out the middleman and let's send our best stuff in there and get it over with. But that's why I'm on here talking about this instead of making decisions. As far as oil and making up for the 90,000 barrels a day, we could probably do that as a nation just by making a decision that I'm not going to drive unnecessarily, or maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, never mind. Anyway, along those lines, the Saudi and the Emirati leaders declined calls from Biden during the Ukraine crisis. Biden called about possibly getting oil from the Emirates, United Arab Emirates, and from Saudi Arabia, and both of their leaders declined the call with Biden. However, they did both make calls to Putin. Just something to think about. Again, conflicts going on all over the world. That's how world wars happen. Sides get drawn, and allies and the dark side. No. Okay, again, copyright violation. Zelensky, the world doesn't believe in Russia's future. The world doesn't believe in Russia's future. Doesn't talk about it. They talk about us. They are helping us. They are ready to support our recovery after the war. because for a nation defending itself so heroically, there will most certainly be a future. I quoted that and brought that up for 2 points. At the beginning, we showed the clip on how Central Intelligence Agency thinks Putin's incredibly desperate and angry and frustrated and probably going to lash out. And we're probably going to see something major. Putin has to win this war. We talked about this briefly last night. Putin has to win. If Putin loses, Trump loses. Trump lost, is Putin going to lose? And they tie together, whether you like it or not. History will show it. Putin will win this war. Ukraine has to win this war. Putin is fighting for his ego. Ukraine is fighting for its survival. And while there are those that think the more we back Putin into a corner, the harder we make it on the Russian people, the more apt they are to rise up and take him out of office and do something. After talking to this person today that has spent time in both Russia and Ukraine and worked at both of those labs, from what I learned, no, they're not going to rise up. They're going to blame anybody else other than Putin. And the harder it gets, the more they're going to support him. So a desperate person backed into a corner, possibly with health conditions. I say possibly. We've got a pretty good idea if you've been watching the show. Putin has to win this war, and so does Russia. That means a good end is unforeseeable at this particular point. And I read you the translation. This is the actual speech where he was saying that. Okay. Back on track here. I'm already over an hour. I'm sorry. Just a lot of stuff going on. I don't like to go over an hour because the majority of people watch the replay, and sometimes people see it. An hour is like this psychological point. Do I want to spend I can spend an hour watching some of this, or anyway. I'm looking at my notes to make sure. Okay. Make sure I've got everything covered that I wanted to get covered. Because we're getting close to the end here. The Pentagon response to the Poland proposal on the jets, talked about that, but I forgot to delete it because that was my first 5 hours ago. Is my first. Just came out of something and learned that it was a no-go after all. Now, and that it didn't play well in Ukraine. Ukraine people are pissed because they thought the United States was giving them some planes, and now they find out they're not. And there's some pissed off people in Ukraine at the United States over this, even though I explained the logic of why it didn't actually happen. Anyway, This 26% of wars, like we are seeing now between Russia and Ukraine, end in less than 30 days. 26%. 25% end in less than a year. Most that end within a month last 8 days. When they last longer than a year, they tend to last more than a decade. How does it end? Well, it's worth this article is worth a read. It's by csis.org. But there's not a good ending. Again, I talked a little bit this afternoon about the and touched on it this evening about the roughly 50 kilometers from the center of Kiev, and this was 8 hours ago. That was showing missile fire or mortar fire coming from areas just about that far out. So we know that was happening. We also reported that that Ukrainian Marines, it was unconfirmed that they had stormed the Kherson airport and taken it back, and that they had destroyed 30 helicopters in the process. And there we go. This, again, a clearer picture of the 49 Russian helicopters supposedly destroyed from Kherson airport. So there is this evidence. There is another satellite photo shows some of the planes are destroyed, but nowhere near 30 that was claimed by Ukraine. And again, the propaganda of war. I wanted to bring this back up just in case you weren't with us this afternoon. Throughout the day, major interruptions. Spotify was taken down and Discord was taken down. But other than that, there have been interruptions about every social media site today. Hackers believed to be sponsored by the Chinese government have compromised at least 6 U.S. State government sites in the continuing espionage campaign. So, again, just something to think about, just something to be aware of, that if your computer starts getting a little wonky, if things start getting a little wonky, you're probably going to have a temporary loss of service. When they start attacking the power grid or the water supply, that's when we know it's serious. This is showing capabilities. This is just like, look, you keep screwing with us, we're really going to start screwing with you cyberly. Okay. Here's the Putin decides to ban the export of products and raw materials outside the Russian Federation. I do not know, but I assume that means Putin has just cut off the oil and gas supply to most of Europe until the first of the year. So again, this and any conflict have so many layers. There's the actual layer of combat. There's the actual layer of strategy. There's the actual layer of logistics. There's the actual layer of communications, and the geopolitical layer, the political ramifications at home. This is playing out because this is potentially being looked at as a proxy war of the United States and Ukraine against Russia. And you could say the same thing about Syria, but the fighting in Syria. We've got a divided airspace in Syria. We patrol one side, Russians patrol the other. We don't come together. You ever hear that talked about? Okay, that's a potential conflict in the making right there. You got Israel shooting down Russian drones, China hacking, Russia hacking. Is China hacking for Russia? Is Putin cutting off the oil, which gives a socioeconomic aspect to everything? There's so many layers of this. That's why it takes us a lot to do these episodes and to talk about everything, because if you're going to connect the dots, you have to have all the dots. We showed this earlier this afternoon that the top of the line Russian fighter bombers are using commercial GPS, and it's basically C-clamped to the dashboard because their system's not working. And the same thing, the Russian high encrypted telephone systems, they weren't working, and they were using standard cell phones with SIM cards, and that's why so many transmissions and so much information was coming out. I want to show this just for a second, actually for 37 seconds.
You think that Trump is actually still in power right now?
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So you think Biden is not the current president right now?
Sir.
No.
No, sir. Never believed it.
Odd. Okay, let's try that again.
You think that Trump is actually still in power right now?
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So you think Biden is not the current president right now?
Sir.
No.
No, sir. Never believed it.
So Trump is the current president right now?
Yes, sir.
So are you mad at Trump for the high gas prices?
No. It's not Trump's fault.
Whose fault is it then?
It's Joe. He's got to set all this.
But Joe Biden, where's Joe Biden? He said he's not president.
He's not the president.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is.
So how could the gas prices be his fault if he's not president?
What you don't understand what they're trying to do. They have to wake up the dingleberries that are still asleep.
Okay. You think that Trump is actually still.
If you happen to know this guy, share the stream. Have him watch the American Dufus show. That's our Dufus of the day. And this finally, we touched on this at the end, but the White House said the non-compliance with anti-Russian sanctions by China could lead to retaliatory steps by the United States. So tough talk from the United States, tough talk from China. Let's see what the latest is. Oh. Wow. Guess what we were just talking about? Victoria Nuland announces the United States is working with Ukraine to prevent biological research facilities from falling into the hands of Russian forces. We were just talking about that. A Russian airstrike killed that entire family. Kharkiv is still standing. Landing attempt with paratroopers and 3 helos, but they didn't make it. That was from 10 minutes ago. 7 minutes ago, any strike against supply lines from NATO members supporting Ukraine with arms and ammunition will be considered an escalation of the conflict. Article 5 in NATO's founding treaty states that that's from the Canadian Broadcasting Company. So again, that's not a United States statement. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but time will tell. I think we covered everything we need to cover, and did it in under 90 minutes anyway. So I'm cold. It's cold here. You probably heard the heater kick on a couple of times. I'm ready for some warm weather. I'm not a big cold weather guy. I prefer hot. So thank you all for watching. Heavy stuff. Oh, I do want to address an email here. Somebody said if you wore a shirt and tie and cut your hair, you would be a good newsman. What that tells me is I'm a good newsman, but the fact that I have long hair and don't wear a shirt and tie means I somehow don't have credibility. But yet, those that do wear shirts and ties, dresses, and fancy hair and fancy studios don't always tell you the truth, and they don't tell you all of the story. So I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I'll keep talking, and I think this is the new way of news. I think young people are going to gravitate to this. The idea that it's for real, you know. Sometimes my dog's going to bark in the middle of it. Sometimes my daughter's going to call with asking for help in the middle of it. But it doesn't mean we don't get through it, and it doesn't mean we don't tell you things to think about, and a variety of things to think about, and things that other sites or mainstream media doesn't tell you. So if you do enjoy this, and if you do appreciate the amount of work we put into doing it, and I'm trying to get a couple of people to come on the show from Ukraine, but you can understand the potential safety concerns. So we're trying to work some things out, and I hope to do that in the future. But I'm not gonna do it just to make this show seem bigger and jeopardize somebody's safety. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you do like what we're doing and you can spare a couple of dollars, please donate to the Cashapp. I honestly, in the next 2 months, I need to get this show up to a point where I can pay my rent. So, and I'm just being flat honest with you. If you've got money, drop a couple of bucks towards the American Dufus show, but send money. If you got serious money, send money somehow to people in Ukraine. And actually, next episode, I'm going to be better prepared for that. And I'm going to have some links and some places where you can donate if you've got serious money. Again, if you can drop a couple of bucks and you've enjoyed what we're doing and what, you know, do so through the Cash App, $ American Dufus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS. If you want to contact me, best way of doing so is through Gmail, americandufus@gmail.com. And I love y'all. I really do. I appreciate you all. Pray for the world. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for the families that have had to flee Ukraine and the people still there fighting for Ukraine. And pray for the leaders of the world that somehow they may be touched with common sense and humanity and understand that we are one race, the human race. We're all in this together. And once we realize that, we'll still have problems, but we'll be able to solve them because we're not going to be fighting each other. I have a dream. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Blessings. I love you all. Thank you for watching. It is the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. Again, thanks for watching. See you next time, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.